The Bombers are keen for Cooper Duff-Tyler, and maybe we can play a little bit of a part in making that happen for them, whilst also benefiting at the same time. Now, it's come out in the last 24 to 48 hours, and look, it could just be managers being managers or people throwing out red herrings, whatever it might be, but we'll talk about it and take it for its word. That the Bombers are obviously gotten heightened and super excited at the prospect of getting Cooper Duff-Tyler, and that doesn't come as a much surprise given they've been linked to him for a while. He played VFL with them and he impressed, and they do have a habit of taking players from that particular region, so it's not really a huge shock, and he obviously tested really well at the Combine. The new ruck rules play into his favour as well, so he will be a sought-after commodity. I guess the tricky point is, one, will he get through West Coast at pick 1 and 2? And if he does that, number 2, will he get through Richmond at picks 3 and 4? From a West Coast perspective, I'm sure, and there's West Coast people who I know watch these videos, so please let me know in the comments below how you feel about Duff-Tyler. Do you want him or do you want someone different? I guess the risk may be associated with Duff-Tyler is the go-home factor, but I mean, I don't know how much clubs really buy into that. They took Harley Reid, for example. I've always thought the club should back themselves in, no matter who the player is and where they're from. So maybe the Eagles do the same thing, but that is a factor that would be somewhat of a consideration. And then it's the player types they've currently got. If they were to get Duff-Tyler, do they have sufficient and quality enough players in place in that position for him to learn from? I'm kind of leaning towards no. So maybe they might be better off bringing in a ready-made ruckman when they feel the need to do so. But Duff-Tyler's talent he's got it. He's got it in spades. It's just a matter of where he fits. So I guess all of the mock drafts and all of the hypotheticals have West Coast taking Dersma at 1. And for a little bit of time, it was Duff-Tyler at 2. It's been Sharp at 2. It's been Roby at 2. Don't take Roby at 2, West Coast. Jesus Christ, don't do that. But yeah, let's say for this example, it is Dersma at 1 and Sharp at 2, which has been spoken about quite a lot. And honestly, if I'm putting a West Coast hat on, not that I have one, but a midfield of Harley Reid, William Dersma, and Dyson Sharp is a pretty good midfield to build around, I would have thought. Again, West Coast supporters, you may have some different views on that, but on the surface, I would feel like that's a pretty strong nucleus of a midfield. And for similar reasons why I wouldn't mind Dyson Sharp myself at Richmond. But let's say he goes to you first and foremost. That would then leave Duff-Tyler on the table at our picks 3 and 4, and then Essendon obviously come in at picks 5 and 6. So I guess this is where poker comes into play. This is where Blair Hartley selling a bit of a dream or a red herring comes into play as well. No doubt I'm assuming that we have some level of interest in Duff-Tyler. I don't want to deny that. I believe we would. But it feels like that Essendon may have more of an interest. So how do they make that happen? Well, in the article that accompanied the information about them being really, really excited about Duff-Tyler, it had suggested in the article that they maybe will approach Gold Coast for a pick swap of picks 21. I think Essendon have got picks 21 and 27 that they could trade to the Gold Coast for pick 15. So this will help Gold Coast in their quest for more points, because they do have obviously quite a few players that are going to get bid on along the journey. And Essendon then would get another good pick in the first round that could then be bundled up and be enticing for another club. So this is where I guess Richmond come in. And I suppose straight off the bat, I know Blair Hartley and us as supporters, we've always spoken about that if a club was to want to trade for one of our picks, 3 or 4, that it would have to be head turning, it would have to be way overs. And I still don't disagree with that. What I will say is, though, I don't think there's a world in which Essendon would give up a future first, which I think is where we would want to land. And understandably so from both sides of the fence. But is there a way that we could find happy middle ground and get still a good result for us while still allowing Essendon a good result for getting the player they want? And I think there's a way it can happen. And the trade it would obviously need to be is pick 3 goes from Richmond to Richmond to Essendon. So on the proviso, they're taking Cooper Duff-Tyler. Because I tell you what, if we did this and then they came in and swooped Roby, I would be fuming. So yeah, on the promise they get Duff Tytler. Then in return, Essendon send us pick 5 and pick 15. Now, I know there'll be a lot of Richmond people saying, no, don't do it. If it doesn't include a future first, walk away. And I get it. I truly get that standpoint. And you know what? I honestly wouldn't even be mad if we took that standpoint. And the vibe from Blair Hartley was that's almost what he's trying to put across as well. But when you sort of then look at what players could be available and what our net result looks like, it's still not a bad outcome. So I thought it was worth stepping through to see what player types we could ultimately end up with, and does it make it worth its while. So the net outcome, if we were to do that trade, Richmond lose pick 3, bring in pick 5 and 15. So our new draft hand would then be 4, 5, 15 and 38. Now, after the list lodgements this morning with Sonzi getting a contract and Dow not getting a contract, we do have 2 to 4 spots left on our primary list. So we can use all 4 of those picks. It would mean, I believe, that pick 38 or whatever it turns into, I believe would need to be used on Louis Callaway if we are to want him. I don't think we could then wait for a spot afterwards because we wouldn't have a primary list spot left to be able to put him onto. What I don't know, someone can correct me in the comments or advise, can you draft someone with a spot but they go straight to the rookie list? I don't know. I've not really ever had to look that up, but that would be the only way we could take 4 separate players and then get Callaway if he was then able to be put onto a rookie list. I feel like, though, that rookie spot would happen if we were to take him in the preseason draft or something like that after the national draft, which I don't think we would want a chance, if I'm being honest. So I feel like we would take Callaway with the 38. But if we consider walking into the draft with picks 4, 5, and 15 and 38, but assuming 38's for Callaway, so we'll concentrate on 4, 5, and 15. On the proviso that Essendon have used pick 3 on Cooper Duff Tytler, that could mean we could bring in a combination of players that look like, so you could take Roby with 4, and then with pick 5, you've got your options of your Sam Grill, you've got Xavier Taylor, you've got Sam Cumming. So they would probably be the 3 main options that you would consider for that pick. And then when you get to pick 15, this is where things, I guess, become a bit more interesting because there's still some quality players that are going to be at that area. There's a very small remote chance that Sam Cumming is still there at pick 15, depending on who needs what. I would say that's less likely, though. Maybe there's a chance that Grill's at pick 15, so maybe you can go Roby, Cumming, and then Grill at 15 because no one else seems to be linked to him for whatever reason. Or maybe you go Roby, Taylor, and Grill at 15. But some other players that could be there in the mix at around that pick 15 mark, there could be a Noah Hibbins-Hargraves, who could be a good X-Factor play to add to partner up with Taj Houghton. Lockie Doverston could be there as a small forward who's got great goal kicking, good speed, had a record in the agility test, so knows how to move his way around a forward line, so he would still be there. Harley Barker would maybe, hopefully, still be there at that pick 15. It's kind of around the mark for him. Obviously, he'll miss most of 2026 with the ACL recovery, like what Taj Houghton did, but he is a specific wingman, which, as we all know as Richmond supporters, is one of the biggest needs for our side. Look, it's needed for right now, yes, but more so longer-term vision. You get Harley Barker back into the fold in the back end of 2026 and then into 2027 and beyond, and you've got a great athletic winger with good skills who can reshape and redesign the wing spot for us, which we desperately need because we don't have anyone bashing the door down currently. So he would be high on my list for that pick 15. Jacob Farrer, another one, even though he's from WA, don't let that deter you. He is a very good kicker of the football, a left footer, can play off half back, so maybe someone who can replace Shorty in the future potentially, can roll through the midfield as well. He would be, I don't buy into the go home factor, but he could be a good consideration. Someone like Josh Lindsay could be there as well, depending on how far he falls, if he falls, who, as we know, is one of the best kicks in the draft. Obviously has a little bit of deficiency in the defensive side of his game, but do you back yourself as a club to train that into a player like Josh Lindsay and you benefit offensively from his weapons of his kicking? He could be another one in that conversation. Ollie Greaves could come up in conversation, although there might be an argument that we may have too many similar bodied type midfielders if we were to take him as well. Mitch Marsh could be there as a hybrid wingman, kind of like a Dan Curtin role. Jovan Filippo could be there, who has an enormously high ceiling that could be worth looking at. And I mean, the only other one that I guess could possibly be there, Oscar Taylor, but I don't know if we would go. I don't think he's a reach at 15, but there's just a lot of other players that could be there at that 15 mark. So I know there's a bit to think about there player-wise, but the nuts and bolts of it is, would you be happy to do the trade with Essendon, pick 3 for pick 5 and pick 15, if it meant we could get a haul of 3 round 1 picks of those types of players I just spoke about? I think it gives us a chance to fill another need. And I think if you were to walk away over a 2-year period, having, was it 9 or 10 first round selections across 2 drafts, I think that's pretty good going. And that is a good way to set yourself up for football in the near future. So look, whilst it's not the sexiest of trades in terms of a head turn with a future first and things like that, I get it, and I can understand why you would say no. But I think there is some genuine upside for us that we should consider. And it could be just an easy, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. We both have a win and we all walk away happy. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Would you do the trade? And if you were to do the trade, who would you identify and want to take at pick 15? Is there another player a bit further down that I might not have mentioned? Keen to hear all of your thoughts. Make sure you like and subscribe for more Richmond content. And until the next one, go Tigers.